Hello dear all, welcome to yet another edition of the program. It is Global Insight on For You Media Africa. Today we are analyzing one of the pressing issues affecting the international world in today's present world, and we are looking at the global information war, which has exacerbated or spewed and asking the question of what at stake as we try to resolve some of these issues. Now, today's program, we want to equally dissect the pressing issues that shape our world today. The media world is not safe from the drastic changing dynamics in today's world. As we navigate these changes, we find ourselves caught in a crossfire of a global information war, a conflict not fought with weapons, but with words, narratives, and media platforms. Traditional norms of journalism have been challenged. Disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda, and even citizen journalism are some of these terminologies associated with the global information war. Media plurality, geopolitical tensions, and the rise of alternative narratives have witnessed a shift in the media landscape across the global world. Thus, what is pressing is the vital role of media in promoting a balanced, multipolar world, and of course, stability, an issue that occupied the agenda as BRICS media leaders met in Moscow September 2024. These stakeholders in Moscow underscored the need for diverse global perspectives, particularly in combating the misinformation and propaganda that permeates today's media channels. The question then remains, how do journalists maintain their integrity and fulfill their duties amidst these growing pressures when state narratives overshadow independent journalism, and of course social media giants impose bans based on foreign interference, where those that leave the voices striving for impartiality and truth? So together we will actually explore deep into this critical topic and answering some of these questions highlighted already in the preamble, and we'll be joined by a panel of expert journalists and even political scientists to give greater insight into the topic for discussion: information war, what is at stake, and of course how can these be contained. This and more we will discover in today's edition of Global Insight. Welcome once more. We are faced by so many complexities in the media world. The global information war posing a threat, of course, to the dispensation or journalists dispensing their various duties in news giving, particularly on issues of international concern. I will take you straight away to the Donbass in Russia to introduce to us CHRISTELLE NÈANT, who is Deputy Editor-in-Chief of International Reporters. Hello to you, CHRISTELLE. A pleasure having you this day.
Hello, I'm really happy to be there again.
And thank you for accepting to share highlights on this or insight on this very important topic, which is coming at a time, you know, recently media leaders of the BRICS met in Moscow, and they were looking at how the media landscape has greatly changed, and of course advocating for a more balanced multipolar world, which is being advocated for by the new new emerging powers, but then the media plays a greater role to ensuring peace and stability in the way that dispense news. And of course, we're looking at the terms associated with this information war that is spiraling as days unfold. So we are going to start holistically, just to mention that other guests will be joining us subsequently, but then let's go holistically, Christelle, to understand the nature of information war, contextualizing it, especially with the heightened geopolitical confrontations in this 21st century.
Oh, we know that information war is not from yesterday. I mean, during even the Second World War, I mean, Goebbels was a specialist of the propaganda for the Nazi regime. And even after that, during the Cold War, there was also a very active information war. And it was always like that. I mean, I think it's Julian Assange who said that every war is beginning by a lie. So every war on the battlefield is accompanied by an information war. Now they are not going one without each other. And now it's almost as important to win the information war than to win the physical war. It's very important because now people are more and more engaged, more and more active, socially engaged, and a lot of people can react and can act against their government if they consider that the actions of the government is not legal or not moral. We have seen that during the Vietnam War. What happened is that the US put an end to the war because the images which were published by some journalists shocked a lot the Americans, who put pressure on their government to put an end to this. So information war is really important, and we see that now in the confrontation between the West, who want to keep its hegemony, and all the rest of the world who want to emancipate from that and to build a multipolar world. So there is huge amounts of money which are thrown by the Western world, and especially the US, into the information war. It's really, I mean, we speak really of billions and billions of dollars, which are given to a lot of non-governmental organizations, media, which are officially independent, but when you begin to dig a bit, you understand that they are funded mainly by Western secret services. First of all, of course, the CIA, which is behind the NED, the USAID. We have also some, say, private sponsors like Mr. Soros, which is also very active on this field. The Soros NGOs are really active in the field of the information war. We also know that the MI6, through the foreign Ministry of Great Britain, is also very active in this field. We have seen that with the creation of some organizations of OSINT research, let's say like this, like Bellingcat, for example, which were built to fabricate completely the information field. So to create news which could after be used by the media of the Western countries. So now we are in a very huge, it's really amazing. For people who have read the novel 1984, we are really in this situation. We see the history being rewritten completely behind our eyes. We see how the reality is completely distorted in the news in the West to fit the narrative, even up to the absurd point. So it's now really a very huge battlefield, and it's important for the rest of the countries of the world to fight actively, because if they don't fight actively, then it's the enemy, it's the West, who is occupying the battlefield, and it's really bad.
We have the bone of contention, Christelle. Now, before actually coming into, the narratives which you just highlighted, and of course, touching major actors that have been, involved in this information warfare for quite a long time, let's try to understand some of the terminologies which we always reoccur when we are talking about an information war. We highlighted in the preamble already: misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. I would appreciate if we try to elucidate more on these terminologies and see how these we can contextualize this in the topic for discussion, which is global information warfare facing the world in this particular moment.
So, of course, disinformation is one of the weapons of the information war. It means publishing false information, what we call fake news. It can be also turning sometimes a fact on such a way that it can say almost the opposite of what someone would consider from the first point. I mean, it's presenting also the facts from a biased point of view. It's what we have seen, for example, during the Maidan. So this disinformation is a very huge part. So it can use purely fake news. It can use news which are partly real, and there is a huge part which is false. It can be also a biased presentation of the fact by hiding some information. And all this leads to misinform people. Misinformation is when people think that they are informed, that they have the news, that they understand the situation, while in reality they were fed only with false or biased information. And which means their opinion was completely fabricated. And that's huge weapons of the information war. A lot of people in the West believe that they are informed, that they read some news and they think they know everything about one situation. Okay. At no point they understand that they are misinformed. So that's a big point. And which was the third term that you wanted to explicit?
Of course, it was propaganda. We're going to come back to that, Christelle. Why I take this opportunity to welcome FIORELLA ISABEL, journalist with Russia Today, and also a geopolitical analyst. You're welcome to Global Insight this day. And of course, we are looking at the information war at a time that RT is actually facing or is actually a victim to this information war that is occurring. And then let's welcome you by looking at how the fact that state and non-state actors engage in a global information war that turns to hijack journalists and derail their the process of dissemination of information to the broad or diverse audience. You're muted, Isabel, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, sure, I can hear you now.
Okay, well, RT is facing renewed sanctions. These sanctions are not the first time they have been sanctioned, but what it seems like is the West, particularly the United States, is threatened by the information and the popularity of RT, not just in terms of the broadcasting television aspect, but in terms of the influence it's had on content creators, on journalists, on political leaders, on so many other people that have really listened to the content and been able to talk about it on their own and say, look, we've had this political belief before. And the influence that RT has is not because they're selling some sort of propaganda. And it's not just limited to RT. It's anything Russian related is now propaganda. Sure. It's because people are discovering through independent journalists as well, through a collaboration of individuals what the truth is and how they have been lied to in the West. And of course, they have to blame the finger at one of three main countries. It's usually Russia, Iran, or you have China. And right now, what we're seeing in the geopolitical world is all of that unfolding on the ground, and also unfolding in the information psychological war that that we're seeing.
I will stay with you, Isabel. While listening to you, we come to align, of course, with one of the stakeholders who attended the recent BRICS Media Summit highlighted, and she was talking about the fact that the media landscape has over the years been, occupied by narratives coming from the north, and she actually highlighted that it was high time that we have this, plurality or diverse in ideas in terms of gathering news and, of course, understanding the process of dissemination of information. So as a geopolitical, analyst that you are, and all what you just highlighted about, state actors using these, information war to be able to, position themselves again. What can we say is the right, parameters to be used right now to bring to the realization of the fact that there is already a media plurality, and we need to inculcate narratives coming from every angle, north, south, or east, and west?
Well, I think that relies mostly on the people in the West, the people who are not in Russia, the people who are not in these countries that the United States and its NATO allies have vilified, because if they succumb to this fear of being told what to listen to, who to listen to, what to think, then that's going to be what is continued to be allowed. But if people continue trying to seek outside information and in their own way take care of our government, because we live in the United States, we live in the belly of the beast. When we're talking about Washington, D.C., we're talking about the area that is right now most profusely drawing all of this war and all of this genocide and all of this killing and death and destruction. The United States is leading the way in doing that. And so when you talk about that, we as Americans from the United States, as people from Europe, as all of these people that live and reside in these places or have a voice or a platform, need to continue doing the work. Because when you go into journalism, or when you go into being some sort of truth teller or a dissident, which is being a dissident now is being criminalized, you have to go beyond that. And I think people like Hillary Clinton will say what she always says, the Russians are here, they're right under the bed, and they're giving us all of this information, they're driving fake news. You're going to get those accusations. You're going to get Anthony Blinken. You're going to get the censorship. You're going to get the labeling of being a propagandist. That's already been happening since even before 2016 when Russiagate came about. So what we have to do is not allow that to deter us from visiting Russia, from talking to different people, from continuing to do this work. Because we're not, if you're a journalist, you're not in this work for glamour, you're not in this work for anything other than telling the truth. That's how the profession should be. And now they feel threatened because we have been, especially independent journalists, which is where I originated from, right? You have people who go on the ground, have been doing the work and have been showing a different perspective. And the legacy media that is full of mainstream narratives is no longer what people look to, especially the younger generations. And this is precisely why they're so threatened.
And of course, that is where we have, the problematic. We've not realized the plurality of the media, and of course, this is coming back. Let's look at what you quite mentioned, Isabel. But then I'll take the question to you, Christelle. The fact that we have independent journalists that have continued to, go everywhere in search of information. Let's let's also see if citizen journalism that largely comes from this particular, segment of journalists has actually promoted this information war, or is it to an extent helping to bring a balance in situations, especially situations which are of international concern, like the crisis in the Middle East. We have particularly the war in Ukraine and elsewhere.
You're talking to me this time? You're talking to me?
Christelle?
Oh, Christelle.
If she can hear you. Please, you are muted.
Okay, yeah. Okay. You can hear me now.
Sure.
Okay. So, yeah, I think all this independent and citizen journalism is a way to counterbalance. Personally, I decided to come to the Donbass to talk about the conflict 8 years ago to try to compensate for all the media coverage from the West, and especially from the French media, because it was completely biased and unbalanced, and there were very few sources of information from the other side. So I went to try to balance a bit, to provide an alternative from the ground. And I think I'm not the only one. I think that the aim of most of my colleagues, which are now either in Russia or are doing regular travels to Donbass and to the other regions where now the conflict is ongoing. So yeah, I think it's really a will to try to rebalance the battlefield. We see that one side is really has very high number of effective of soldiers, let's say, and a lot of weapons, and so some people decided to join the ranks of on the other side to try to compensate a bit, because if we don't do that, who will do? And we see there are very courageous people who continue to live in Europe, for example, or in the US, and to try to do this job. But it's more and more difficult. There are really attempts now to criminalize all this work, all this independent journalism. We have seen that in Germany, for example, my colleague Alina Liep is threatened by 3 years of jail if she comes back home just because she did her work here in the Donbass, because she explained that people here supported the special military operation. So there are some countries where it is really more difficult and dangerous than others. We have seen that France has arrested Pavel Durov, the CEO of Telegram. It's clearly an attempt to put more censorship on Telegram, because France is a record man, we have to say that, in terms of censorship requests on the social media in the European Union. So we see these attempts, and we see that there are still courageous people who risk a lot but continue to do the job both here on the ground and in the Western countries.
That is where the strength of journalists lies. Of course, getting to go to very unfertile or unhealthy areas because you want to have first-hand information that will, inform the masses out there. Now, let's focus on the tools of communication, and particularly with you, Isabel. We're looking at the tools of communication, like the social media platform and this particular censorship. How is this already helping to limit trust in the mainstream media when we see that the other media organs coming to the fore to try to balance information or to bring to the fore information from the other side?